Exactly. So Linux entirely is open source. Everything related to Linux is open source. And what developers or people who like uh, breaking things and putting them back together do is they take the code source of Linux and they add different extensions to it. And then it behaves very differently in different segments. Now imagine being able to contribute code to something that millions of developers all over the world are working on. Everyone who has ever used, CSE degree or wanted to work on CSE fundamentals had somewhere used Linux. And LFX, this one, LFX, works on Linux OS. It's literally Linux Foundation. And every year it gives you a certain stipend to work on its code base. And this is one of so many programs out there. There's one program which is specifically for women or people who are underrepresented, say they are pride people and they are transsexual or they are not very well represented across tech. Outreaching is a program for them, and you have to, if you want to apply for it, you have to apply for it before you clear GSOC. जिस वजह से मेरा आज तक outreach में हुआ नहीं है because I can't apply for it. Okay, so outreaching has a really good stipend as well. It's somewhere around $3,000, which is like 2.5 lakh approximately. ठीक. So that kind of money also sets you up further ahead, that I don't have to worry about my fees or telling my parents कि इतने पैसे डाल रहे हैं तुम्हारे बीटेक में, तुमने क्या किया? मैंने कुछ तो किया है. You get that feeling from it. Okay, that's there. Almost all open source programs, चाहे GSOC, Outreach, LFX, XROS, MLH, everything at least helps you. If you get selected, it at least helps you monetarily, and you won't believe the weight of your resume and the weight increases. It's like it's like someone just added stone on it. You can just sit down and talk with your interviewer about what your experience was in open source and how you figured out different problems, and you can highlight problem solving approaches through it. So that is open source for you. And even if you couldn't go through, like for example, you decided इस साल अपन MLH निकालेंगे and you couldn't go through, you can still talk about, okay, this is the project I presented for MLH, this is how I worked on it, and this is all the things that I did during that project. Okay, that is something that you can talk about in an interview, because people do look at your resume and they are like, oh, I see this on a resume, tell me more about it. Cool. Now, this is what I meant. I for independence. It helps you become independent. It helps you work on your own terms. It helps you just sit down and code. It's a very beautiful feeling to just, sit down and code. Now, and there's a very strange thing that I have noted is for specifically for Android. It's like Android emulator runs really well on this one OS, and I wonder what's the name of that OS. Do you guys know what could be the name of that OS? Like it's on the screen, guys. Come on, it's literally on the screen. There's one OS on which the Android emulator runs super good. I want in the chat something. The mic unmuted. Linux? No, no, not Linux. Windows. Yeah, yeah. Windows works so well with Android emulators and a variety of softwares, but for specifically Android, it works super good. I had a better experience with Microsoft Windows compared to Linux. Door, no, no, not door, Windows. Cool. So that's there. And now, a very important question that arises is, how do you start preparing for shortlisting of all of these organizations or writing the proposal itself? You use Microsoft Excel, you use Microsoft Docs, and just type things out. Just just make a huge list of all these organizations that you worked with or would like to work with. Make a list of the technological stack that you know. For example, I'm a person who has learned React over the last 2 months. And what happens is in GSOC, I see there's three firms which work with React.js. Then I'll write down, okay, these firms are there. They are using React JS. Their project size is this much, and I think if I consistently work on this particular firm, I can crack it. Okay. Instead, this person will have a higher chance compared to someone who's like, अरे मैंने React सीखा है, but अब अभी थोड़ा AI try कर रहे हैं, तो अभी AI वाले firm में जाते हैं. No, it does not work that way. You have to be very specific while applying to any open source organization or program. For example, say GSOC, if I am a person who wants to apply to GSOC 2024, what happens is GSOC 2024 May में होना है. उसके proposals will start around March, and then eventually you have to learn a technology this winter break, or you have to go really deep into dev itself this winter break. Then you would have at least enough knowledge. Okay, this is how we do things. GitHub is, this is how we use it, this is how we create a portfolio, this is how we take a technology. And then you will start vetting all of these organizations, and then you go into and apply. Fine. Now, let's look at how do we right. So basically, organizations कैसे shortlist करते हैं, and how do we organize which organizations to go into? By proposing, not literally किसी लड़की को नहीं propose करना है. We are proposing to that organization that this is me, this is my caliber, and this is what I can give to you. Right? Okay, cool. In the end, Zid, hard work and discipline matters a lot. A lot. You won't believe I had consistently running classes as well as different schedulings that needed to be done. I mean, I remember I had COVID while GSOC 2021 was going on. Now, there is something that I do want to share with you all. How do you, shortlist an organization? So there's a website called Google Summer of Code with Google. You just type Google Summer of Code. You'll go there. Cool. Now, you will ask, "Arey Didi, but what do we do? ये तो पूरा empty page है." No, this is not what it is. Just go to the last organizations or whenever it was held last time, and search for organizations. Like become a GSOC contributor, view project list, search for organization. Browse on 2023 organizations. Okay. Okay, cool. Now, uh, if I type Android here, what happens is I get a list of all the organizations that had used Android as their technology. Fine. Now let's open Kivix. Let's open something like uh, Red Hen Lab, and let's open something like MIT App Innovator. Okay. So for Kivix, we are seeing that they took two people, one of whom were Indian. And like you can go ahead and check out their different idea list and what all they did last year. What happens is since that these projects are so huge, they don't get completed in one summer. So eventually they keep bringing in different people at different points of a time. So you have to be really wise while choosing an organization and its project. I was wise in the sense there was one organization called Google FHIR, and in that organization, they had a huge project which was very tough to set up, but I was able to set it up, and it took five people, two of whom hadn't even contributed to the project, but they took them because there were not enough participants in that particular project. So you have to be very wise and just be like a eagle looking at these things, and you have to see, okay, this particular project had a lot of people last year, so this is possible that the project is midway done and not completely done. And now look here, you are looking at Python, machine learning, computer vision, NLP, data science. So these excuse me, these may not be what are really good for you. Like I'm looking at here, there's using Node.js, Kotlin, Python, and Perl, right? So I'm like, okay, I know Node, I know Kotlin, I know C++. Can I try to, at least work on this organization? Let's see. So I'll just open the kivix.org and oh, they've removed it. so sorry, but usually they have a list of projects that they're working on. Say MIT App Inventor. It says JavaScript, Java, JWT, Swift. So I know Java. I can learn Swift. Don't just limit yourself to the things that you know of. Think about the things that you can also learn. Okay, like I do know about Android, I do know about developmental tools. That means I can try to learn Swift, I can try to learn iOS. End of the day, worst case scenario, I still have a project which I have done while learning a language. अब language कैसे सीखते हैं? You don't just just watch 10 videos on it and you are done. No, you go to that official documentation, you see different projects that the people have done. How I learned Android was, there's something called Android official documentation, and they teach how to just learn the Android language itself. The developers guide, right? They have a very good developers guide. Not all languages have it. It's very tough to sometimes learn languages because of it. And YouTube will be your best friend. Sometimes you would be like, अरे pay करके इसको सीख लेते हैं. Do think about the cash and the benefit you're getting. I will not say कि नहीं खरीदो कोई भी course. I won't say कि हमेशा courses खरीदो. I didn't have to buy any courses because some courses I got on Telegram. Don't tell anyone. Okay. And most of the things that I needed to learn, I learned it through YouTube or Medium blogs. Okay. So that is there. This is how just sit down with organizations and check. Just say here they have divided it into different segments. But I would say ki instead of segments, yeah. Instead of segment, you see Django is there, Chromium is there, Wagtail is there. These are all well-known names. So यहाँ पे competition बहुत हो सकता है. So start just exploring what kind of organization it may be. For example, if I'm interested in Chromium, let's say, I'll say कि okay cool, I'll go to chromium.org, I'll see contributor guideline जो इन्होंने दिया है, and I'll work through it. This is the entire contributor guideline that they have, and I'll read it. I'll read it. This is this is how we do things. This is how we go ahead at things. But don't believe their timeline at all. This is like a after acceptance wala timeline. If you ask me what is the true timeline for GSOC, it starts from November. You start looking at different organizations. This is what program 2022, right? Now I'll go for 2022 and I'll look at different organizations and I'll see कौन से organizations हर साल आते रहते हैं, and I'll be like okay, तो इसका project जरूर से इस stage पर होगा. And usually it's more logical that a new organization with a large project will definitely take in more people. Okay, but don't stop trying into large organizations, but don't try in some मतलब very fancy सा project कि ML में इसमें है and I want to make ML work through it. If you have done very huge work in it, then go for it. Otherwise it's just safer to go for something that you do know about. Okay, like this year if I had to go for something, I would say okay, I do know Android, I do know Swift, so I'll go for that MIT App Inventor wala. Why will I do that? Because yahan pe they were talking about Java, GWT, Swift, education, Android, iOS, and I am good at all of these things. Cool. And then I would say कि okay fine, इन्होंने ये काम last year किया था and this is how I get this done further ahead. Okay, I did want to show you guys one thing. I do wonder ये कहाँ से show कर सकते हैं हम. Let's go for Linux Foundation. They might have something. Blog. See, another thing that people neglect while applying for open source programs is they don't go through what that particular organization is doing at all. Like, you should open up the blog, you should, mail the forum, ask them, सेंड कोल्ड मेल करो, उसको पूछो कि हाउ डू आई अप्लाई टू योर कोड बेस, हाउ डू आई सेट अप योर कोड बेस, एंड इवेंचुअली यू विल लर्न कि ओके दिस इज हाउ वी डू इट, दिस इज हाउ इट वाज डन. फॉर एग्जांपल आई वांट टू नो ऋतिक चौहान ने क्या काम किया था लास्ट ईयर. ठीक है, आई गो टू हिज प्लेस एंड ही इज लाइक ओके दिस इज ऑल द थिंग्स दैट वी डिड, दिस इज डैशबोर्ड ऐप, एजवैक, everything that is done throughout his time is written there. You can learn what was done, but don't get overwhelmed. अरे इतना इतना करना है, ये कुछ नहीं करना है. You just have to, open these organizations. उसके code base में जाकर के check करो कि क्या करना है. Like one very common organization was Rocket Chat. So I'll go to their code base. I'll be like Rocket Chat GitHub, and I'll see ki, what all changes they have made. How do I, team collaboration hai, तो उनके कुछ channels होंगे where they're collaborating with each other, right? And I'll go and I'll look at open issues. I'll be like, okay, these are the open issues, and उसमें भी labels होते हैं. So labels में से I'll see कि bounty would be something very challenging. Community PR might be something that I can do. Initial days में तो मैंने अपने organization के readme MDs भी change किए थे कि just understand how this entire organization is working at all. So just pick up some label and be like, okay, how do I से अपलोड अवतार वाले पॉइंट पे ये पूरा पढ़ के यू आर लाइक ओके आई डिड दिस आई सेट अप द प्रोजेक्ट हाउ डू आई सेट अप द प्रोजेक्ट डज एनीवन नो हाउ टू डू इट ऐसे यू कैन डू दैट ओवरऑल I can only help you find a particular pathway from here, but explore तुम्हें करना पड़ेगा. And I would also suggest कि if you are hesitant about, if I'm in my first year, what should I do ahead? You could go for projects or programs like MLH, right? You could go for MLH. You could be like, okay, Major League Hacking में apply करो. वहाँ पे थोड़े projects तो वो immediately select नहीं करते हैं. But MLH prep के लिए sometimes कर लेते हैं. अब you will be like, दीदी, but how do I get projects for these open source programs? I'd say तुम्हारे कॉलेज में फेस्ट होते हैं, कुछ ना कुछ टेक फेस्ट होते हैं, उसमें हैकाथॉन्स में पार्टिसिपेट करो, क्रिएट प्रोजेक्ट्स, टेल देम दैट यू नो व्हाट आई हैव वर्कड ऑन दिस टेक्नोलॉजी एंड आई नो दिस टेक्नोलॉजी, आई कैन ऐड टू योर कोड बेस, आई कैन ऐड टू योर प्रोडक्ट, एंड आई हैव इनोवेशन. Like, I wonder if I have the link. I'll try something. Just give me a sec. I might have my own proposal from GSOC here. I might just have it. Okay. Right. So मैंने क्या किया था? I had a proposal for GSOC and I made a template out of it. And now whenever I apply to any open source, I just use that template. Like I use this template. Key student information है, name, university, degree, etc., etc. And you just write whatever you know. This is what I have done, and this is what I plan on doing. These are my projects. This is the GitHub link for it. This is my work experience, past relevant experience. This is how I'm going to be useful for you. And definitely you have to include, that coding phase वन में मैं ये करने वाली हूँ, या कोडिंग फेज टू में मैं ये करने वाली हूँ, फेज थ्री में मैं ये करने वाली हूँ. एंड फॉर दैट यू हैव टू नो कि कोड बेस में है क्या एक्चुअली, right? So if I had to sum it up very, very seamlessly, one basic thing is pick up one technology that you are very passionate about. If it's web, go for it. Learn these backends, learn the front ends, understand how JIT works, GitHub works. I think a lot of you do not know how JIT and GitHub works. So understand how GitHub works. Okay. Um, go for these. Yeah, go for these project building through कॉलेज फेस्ट और वेबसाइट बिल्डिंग. कहीं कहीं पर किसी स्टार्टअप में पूछते हैं दैट वी आर विलिंग टू हायर फॉर 2K, आर यू रेडी फॉर इट? जस्ट अगर तुम्हें प्रोजेक्ट करने के 2 या 3 हज़ार रुपए मिल रहे हैं, थिंक ऑफ इट एज दैट. ओके, सो डू अ प्रोजेक्ट और उस प्रोजेक्ट के थ्रू उस पर्टिकुलर टेक्नोलॉजी में ओपन सोर्स में कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट करो. किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को पकड़ लो. यू अगर तुम किसी प्रोग्राम में सिलेक्ट होते हो देन यू गेट पेड, बट इन जनरल यू कैन लिटरली ओपन एनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. वहाँ के लोगों से जाके स्लैक पे या डिस्कॉर्ड पे ज़्यादा कम्युनिटीज एग्जिस्ट करती है, तो उनसे जाके पूछो हाउ डू आई सेट अप दिस प्रोजेक्ट, हाउ डू आई डू दिस पर्टिकुलर वन. एंड डिस्कॉर्ड पे तो ये भी कर सकते हो कि एनिमे कैरेक्टर लड़की बना करके नेम कुछ और डाल करके बोल रहे हो कि हाँ प्लीज सिखा दो, बिकॉज डिस्कॉर्ड पे तो बहुत ज़्यादा एडवांटेजेस मिलते हैं. Sometimes I make my character as a guy in Discord and be like, okay, hi guys, how is this working, etc., etc. So it's a lot of fun. You don't have to cry because of coding and placements all the time. If you are skilled enough, uh, you can literally find job even in a really bad market condition. Okay. for example, if you know basic things like how to create a website, how to create, these back end and front ends of a particular website or web page or whatever, you can work with any startup as a developer remotely. You do not even have to go to office, but the pay would be not so nice. It would be somewhere like 5,000, 6,000, but hours will be super long. It would be very hectic, but हो जाएगा. ठीक है. Don't worry कि how do we get this done? How do we, you know, get into open source itself? Eventually, if you just start putting in, like just tasting it slightly, कि ऐसे हम लोग जिटहब ओपन करते हैं, ऐसे हम लोग जिटहब पे प्रोजेक्ट्स डालते हैं, एंड ऑल्सो लॉट ऑफ पीपल राइट रेज्यूमे उसमें लिंक नहीं डालते हैं. यू ऑलवेज लाइक आई शो यू माई रेज्यूमे एंड you won't believe I used to not have clickable links on my GitHub resume. Sorry. I wonder if I am on LinkedIn yet. In this laptop at least. Right. Guys, you can also reach out to me on this email ID. Don't worry. Do I remember the password? Right. Just give me a sec. Okay. Right. Let me show you my resume. Okay. So you see these blue underlines, and these all are clickable links. And if you click on them, like after downloading, they're actually open. So whenever I have mentioned a project, I haven't only said कि मैंने ये किया है. अगर मैंने उसको किया है, I have put it on my own GitHub, say github.com/Anna2k. Cool. So I have put it on my own GitHub. It's not very fancy like a lot of people, but I have put it on GitHub so that at least there's some kind of a legitimacy. And see, even if I haven't officially worked anywhere, just through my interns and everything, I have said, okay, this is my GitHub, repository. This is I have worked with open sources, and what's the proof कि तुमने वो किया है, और what's the proof कि तुम्हें वो टेक्नोलॉजी आती है. You put it on GitHub, people will know just by clicking on it and seeing it. Or even if 99% of the people don't click on it, having a clickable link gives you legitimacy. So that's a hack even for applying to companies through just doing projects. Okay, so that's there. And initially सबको बहुत problem होती है. Even after I did my GSOC, I had so much trouble scoring a single job with startups as well. They did mail. I did send them off campus. I was like, अरे मैंने GSOC निकाल लिया ये, I'll definitely get selected. I'll definitely be called into like ऐसे बोलेंगे अरे आप आ जाओ and all that. That happened, but it was like 2 or 3 out of different places that I'd applied to. So you have to be very mindful कि तुम क्या कर रहे हो. You have to create projects. You have to uh, yeah, understand basic of GitHub. You have to know कि open source में कैसे जाते हैं. And open source is a place which will never say कि निकल जाओ यहाँ से. Don't do this at all. We are not accepting your code at all. We will not take in your pull requests या ऐसी कुछ भी चीजें. Hacktoberfest was a really good thing that you could have done in the month of October. If you missed it this time, you can do it next year. In the winters, IIT Patna organizes and walk. Some of the IIT Patna students will relate. So just use the vacations that you get. बस डिप्रेस होके घर पे सारा दिन यूट्यूब शॉर्ट स्क्रॉल कर रहे, डोंट डू दैट. सिट डाउन ऑन योर लैपटॉप. 10 घंटे में से 8 घंटे नेटफ्लिक्स यूट्यूब कुछ भी चलाओगे, 2 घंटे कुछ तो यूजफुल काम कर ही लोगे. चाहे वो लव बबर की शीट लगा लिए, चाहे वो ओपन सोर्स सीख लिए, चाहे वो जेट सेटअप कर लिए, बट जस्ट कीप ऑन वर्किंग. इट्स लाइक एन एडिक्शन. जैसे चेस खेलते हो तो एडिक्शन हो जाता है, या फिर चाय पीने का एडिक्शन हो जाता है. इट्स लाइक एन एडिक्शन. You'll get used to it. And if you keep moving, eventually you do reach somewhere, right? So don't worry too much about it. It's not rocket science at all. Just take things step by step. I'll share with you a particular link जहाँ पे सारी opportunities are there along with a calendar. I think I have it starred. I'm not guaranteeing it, but I should have it starred. Right, yeah. See, so this guy has all of the ओपन सोर्स फेलोशिप्स ठीक है सम पीपल वर लाइक ब्लॉकचेन पे काम कर सकते हैं क्या हाँ कर सकते हैं देयर समथिंग कॉल्ड समर ऑफ बिटकॉइन एंड इफ यू फील कि कोडिंग इज नॉट योर थिंग देयर आर पीपल हु क्लियर सीजन ऑफ डॉक्स मतलब ये जो एंड्रॉइड का डॉक्यूमेंटेशन देखा ना पीपल सिट डाउन एंड राइट ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स एंड you get paid if you clear season of dogs you are basically a technical content writer and technical content writers get paid like two-thirds of what SDs get paid, and there's a larger demand for it because there's not a lot of people pursuing that. So you could do this, you could go for RGSOC, and you would understand, excuse me, when to apply for which one and whether these are open as well. Okay, so these are for open source competitions. A lot of people uh, like राइट इन देयर लिंक्डइन बायोस कि मेरी रैंक इतने आए थे या मैंने ये किया था सो इफ यू हैव अ प्रोजेक्ट टू शो फॉर ऑल द like words you're saying will be useful. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna paste this one in your chat as well so that you can in your free time just sit down and figure everything out related to it. It was a very huge game changer. Then there's I don't know if you guys know about Kushal Vijay. He had pushed out two videos on open source technology and a calendar related to it. Good first issues. Yeah, 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 yeah. Good first issues was very nice. I think I sat down and I used to try to solve some of them in my 2020 wala phase. Okay, that brings a lot of memories. Thank you, Harshit. And yeah, last Shilpa to share with you all any other resources that I have, and that's all from my side. Keep coding and compile the code proper.